Oh, it's Chapudromo. It's Tuesdays with Ted, and we have Gary Wilken as our guest today. Gary and I met, was it a year or two ago? Might be 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's 2 years. When things fly, that means they're fun. So there we go.
Yeah, the last year and a half just kind of don't count anymore, right?
That's right. It's amazing.
So we connected because you were helping people. You had retired, and like, now what do I do? I don't know what to do with my life. So you're just kind of helping people prepare for retirement, and I never thought of that. It's like, yeah, you have to go to work every day. You have a mission. You're on have something to do every day. Now you're like, now what do we do?
Yeah, and that's I was finding out there's kind of two paths with a lot of people. It was either R&R life, which is recliner and remote, yeah, or go off and do something. And I couldn't do the R&R approach, and so I started my mission, to say what do we do next, and how do we keep active. So.
Right. So what did you do before you retired?
I spent 4 decades in technology. Um, I started off actually even before my career. I programmed in high school using punch cards, and grew up through a variety of technologies from punch cards up to the mainframes, to the original client server era, and then moving through a variety of systems and then on into the cloud. And all sorts of roles from technology to analysis. And um, I was the guy that they always kicked out of the room to go talk to the business users. So I'm uh, I'm bilingual from that perspective. I can speak business and I can speak tech, and that was a really fun career.
I remember those punch cards.
Oh yeah, do not ever drop those. So, but
No, I took Fortran in college, and we had to put the cards through the reader and come back 24 hours later for our printout. And if you
yeah,
failed, we'd have to stand in line for the next punch card machine. Oh God, it's a nightmare.
yeah. I know when I was in high school, I would punch the deck and give it to the assistant principal, and his wife would drop it off at a area college a couple days later and pick it up. So I had like a 1 week turnaround time.
Yeah.
And you become, terminally anal retentive on mistakes on that, because one comma costs you a week. And but so I told the guys that you worked for me years ago. They said, yeah, I've been doing Windows programming for forever. And they said, hold it, Windows just came out. I said, yeah, I would take my cards to the input window, wait a couple days, and go to the output window. So,
I
so
love it. So you talk about the power of why. Tell me more about that.
well, I think the thing is, so in the context of things, what I'm really focusing on is helping people, seasoned professionals, whether they're retirement age or just in the mid career, to get out of that I have to mode and into the I want to mode. And there's three keys, to really how do we do that. And the first one is having what I call the power of why. And the power of why is just another way of saying, what's your dream? What is it you want to accomplish? And the bigger and more compelling it is, it kind of like draws you like a magnet into these next steps, the things you need to do, these next, attack things that otherwise you would say, I can't do that. And and so when it's really big and it's really well defined, it kind of ushers us along a train of success to significance to legacy. And in our careers, our seasoned professionals, we've reached a level of success, things that we have done that we've accomplished, and that type of thing. The next tier though is significance, and that's when you start mentoring and helping others be, do, and have things that they didn't think possible. And so that's where your significant comes out, is not only centered on you but helping others. And then moving up to legacy, that's when you're transferring the habits that really allow people to create, character and integrity and wisdom, and that ongoing train that ripples into eternity. That's the legacy aspect of things.
Yeah, it's very different than Simon Sinek's why. Your why when you're in your career, now it's a whole different why at a whole different level.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that sometimes two things. A lot of people don't haven't really thought about what their why is, but then they haven't really thought that even if they had it, is it achievable? And and that kind of leads us to the next point we're talking about is you, what are three keys to an effective plan that helps you achieve that why? So once you've got it identified and you've really got that magnetic pull, it's really simple. Any plan that you're going to do to make that big a change needs to have three things. It needs to inspire hope, because if we don't have hope, you know, we just don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We've all lived in places where we didn't have hope, and it was a dark place. And so the plan has to inspire hope. It needs to be based on truth. This is not a guru gimmick type thing or whatever, but the plan needs to be based on what is actually true, what is right. And then the probably the most important thing is that it needs to be simple to implement. So often we think of these, for example, I don't want to pick on people, but I probably will. Um, Productivity systems. How many different productivity systems have you tried over the years? And so you buy the book or you get the PDF, whatever, and there's like 29 steps, it takes to bring this to pass. And if you even get through it, you'd never really implement it.
Right.
And so that's why when we're talking about a change this big, when we're talking about success, significance, and legacy, and really creating balanced success, it does need to be simple to implement. Doesn't mean it's easy. That's why the importance of hope is there. And so that's the kind of the key three key elements, or I could spit that out.
Yeah. No, I see these guides, 72 ways to whatever, like, wow, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like the old server install kits where they would, the PDF would be 46 pages long that you're having to walk through. And
like IKEA furniture. No.
Yeah, I'm paying for those to be installed next time, period.
That's why they bought TaskRabbit.
That's right. That's right.
Smart move there.
It's hard to find a metric hammer, is all I know.
Right. So is there, like, when you retire, is there like phases you go through? Like you're going with 100 miles an hour while you're working, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you have nothing to do.
Well, yeah, there's I've looked at, so one of the first things I did when I was going to make the shift, I started researching whatever. And of course I flow charted it out and everything, but there's a couple ways, when people, I think the biggest mistake we make as we get ready to retire, we worry about the numbers, the finances and all that kind of stuff, but we don't worry about what's going to happen at 6 a.m. And so some of the phases, a lot of times we go through this honeymoon period, where that's where we throw away the alarm clock, say, I'm going to sleep till noon, I'm going to do whatever I bleep please. And you can only wash your car, clean out the garage, and golf so many days in a row. And eventually you're going to say, like we talked about earlier, what now? What's next? And so you run into this kind of this the middle of the transition period. A book, I'll sidetrack, Transitions by Dr. Bridges, talked about every transition in our life has three things. It has an ending, a messy middle, and a new beginning. And so when we're leaving, we have to acknowledge what we're stopping, and we're stopping our career. We're stopping a lot of place where a majority of our identity came from, a lot of our confidence and competence came from, our social circles and who we worked with and who we saw. And so when we leave that, those things become our responsibility. And so the transition really goes through the realization of that, okay, I'm a former something that doesn't last very long. Now what am I? So what's my identity, and what am I good at, and who am I going to do this with? And so that transition, sometimes, like I said, we go through that, kill the alarm clock. But then there's other people that say, no, I've got some things that I've been doing for a while. I want to do more of them. I start finding a purpose. I start finding some focus. Um, I start helping other people, or that type of thing. And so there's a phase there that starts being more aware of what's going on. And then as they hone in on what they really want to do, then it becomes uh, the new beginning. Because think about it. A lot of us have another 30 years after we retire.
Mm-hmm.
That's longer than a lot of people's career, and so we have to approach it with real consciousness about doing that. And so that's why the blow up the alarm clock, that's not healthy and doesn't last very long. So
I remember my father-in-law, he retired and he moved to Florida from New York. He goes, "You don't know how hard it is to golf 6 days a week."
yeah, especially for badge, right?
So like you said, his career was like 20 years long at the one job, then he got a pension for like 35 years after that.
Yeah. And that's I think that's the thing that a lot of people are realizing. I mean, this isn't, I'm calling this retirement 2.0. This isn't my dad's retirement where you get a slice of cake, gold watch, and out the door. We collectively want to do something. We want to do more. We want to give something. And so that's why it's so important to really approach this not just as a numbers, but as a life choice.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get that? And so back to our top, our title here is, what's the fastest way to success? Well, and I didn't mention, I'm a licensed Ziegler coach, and so we really have. So what I'm just blessed to have is 50 years of Ziegler Corporation success, and then I combine that with my 40 years of life experience in the career and training and that kind of stuff. Is that the concept of balanced success is really how do we approach this? And when we talk about balance, you've probably seen a variety of wheels of life or segments of your life, so Ziegler, starts with mental, spiritual, physical as kind of the core of things, and then we expand out to family, financial, personal, and career. And Tom Ziegler's approach, he's the one that says, someone asked him, what is the fastest way to success? And his answer was, and then he built, his book and some other programs around it, is the fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And it underlines the power. We have the power to choose. We can choose to make our life better, or we can choose to make our life worse. And so having the choice to replace a bad habit with a good habit, and you start focusing on each of those spokes of that wheel, then you start creating balanced success. So physical, let's say a few years ago, I was drinking pop all the time. And then I said, that's not good.
Yeah.
And so I made a choice, and my wife and I made a choice, said, let's dump that. And so we said, we're going to, instead of drinking pop, we stepped it down. We went pop to sparkling water, and sparkling water to just a straight water. Mm-hmm. And so that's an example of in the physical spoke, changing a bad habit, drinking pop, and replacing it with water. And so that was a choice, and that had an impact, lost some weight and different things there, but it was also empowering to know that you can consciously say, I'm going to do this, and you start doing it. And it isn't always cold turkey, because habits are just a series of small good decisions over and over and over. So it's that's back to that easy to implement. This is not, we don't approach change as New Year's Eve resolutions.
Right.
We don't say, I'm going to do this big thing, and three days later we quit. So the habit approach, that makes it much more sustainable.
You mentioned the Tiny Habits book in our call earlier today too.
Yeah, Tiny Habits, BJ Fogg. I've used him before I ran into Tom on the choose to win, and it's the same concept as a habit is a choice, and whether you anchor it to something you already do, you do the small behavior, and then you celebrate, and a lot of times people approach habits as what's kind of the minimum I can do on a really good day, and I think the opposite is true. Is what's the minimum I can do on a bad day, so that I always can do it. So it's the consistency and the importance of doing that over and over and over, and then expanding it and growing it from there. So that's why the habit approach is so um, successful in implementing change and allowing us, because that's really what we're doing is we're saying, I've been doing X all my life. Now I want to do Y. How
Yeah.
do I get there? Well, in between is the habits and starting to make those choices. So
You talked earlier about your legacy, and I never really thought about that when I was younger. And then I was worked with a lot of financial advisors helping them with LinkedIn. They talk about their clients reach our age and they're like, what's my legacy going to be? And it's not like I want a library named after me or anything. It's important though.
yeah, and my wife and I had that conversation. What's our legacy? And we have different ideas, but one of the legacies that we're leaving is that we want to be known as that happy couple. So when we go into the grocery store, we'll talk to people. We say hi to people. I mean, in the midst when everybody was wearing masks, we say, oh, good mask. We wore the Stuart and what are the little guys? Oh, now I can't remember. I'm going to look like an old guy here. Minions. We had minion
Oh
masks.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and so we have minion masks, and little kids would come up with, oh, I know that one, and so as a couple, one of our choices is when we meet people or we see people in the grocery store that we don't know, whatever, we say hi, we, ask how they're doing, whatever. And so it doesn't have to be, like you say, have a library named after me, but we want to be remembered. And so that hopefully, smile at someone and they'll smile at somebody else and they'll smile at somebody else. And so that's just one example. You don't have to turn it into a big science experience.
Right. But it makes you feel like I made someone's day. I made them laugh or made them smile.
Yeah.
Little accomplishments.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. And when we talk about moving from that, our careers, eventually they start weighing on us, and we kind of lose that youthful eagerness and hope, and moving out of that I have to back to that I want to. It frees us up to have that that eagerness, that hope, that the bounce, and that's what's so valuable about this is that we can remember what it was like and do it some more. We can have some fun. So.
Yeah. So when you retire, did you step back beforehand and plan what you wanted to do, or do you kind of is it evolving every day now?
Well, it started out as kind of an epiphany type thing. I think it was November of 2018. I was up in Minnesota. It was snowing like a banshee, and I had to go downtown and facilitate a meeting. And from where I was, it was going to take 2.5 hours to get down there. And so I'm looking at myself in the mirror like at 4 a.m. saying, do you really want to do this? And and it was like, and so I surprised myself. I sat there and I said, no, So yes, so cut to the chase. I did go do the meeting, but at that moment I said, I don't want to do this anymore because I want to do all these other things that I've been kind of hanging back or suppressing or sacrificing, whatever words we want to do. And so from there till May of the following year, I studied, I talked to my financial advisor, we did some thinking, and we decided, so I retired in May, just a few months later. And in that time, we sold a house, bought a house, moved cross country, and got resettled. And I was still, even though I thought I was prepared, it was still like a 2x4 side of the head. And still, talk about evolving. Yeah, I thought, oh, I can write chatbot messenger, chatbot, and so I started playing with that. And then though technically I could do it, there was no spark there. And so I put that down, and then I stopped and asked a question. I said, what is it you're good at? What is it you like to do? And I started looking at my career, and my career was kind of really evolved around a central theme of asking questions and solving problems. And because the key with IT has always been is that the bang against IT was that they solve the wrong problem, or they don't talk to users or whatever. Well, that was my strength, right? And so I said, okay, so what does that lead to? And so coaching or helping people go through transitions, transitions. And I didn't really like coach. What do we say? There's what, 6 million of us on LinkedIn now.
Yeah.
But more of an advisor or a guide or co-creator to help people kind of manage going through that path. And so I started. That's when I started really focusing on initially about helping retirement age folks make the jump. And as I backed away and saw the broader perspective, it's not, retirement is an event that means so much to so many different things to different people. So now it's more of, that's why I was talking about the retirement 2.0. When you realize that you're in a I have to situation, you need to retire to an I want to situation, and so that's kind of the biggest evolution of really understanding, getting the hold of that why, and how do I start actually changing my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't want to go to those long speaking engagements anymore, but no, I've got to reach that point. I started going to traveling again for some speaking engagements. I'm thinking, do I really want to do this with the crazy air travel now? I'm not retired yet, but I'm thinking in those terms.
Yeah, we haven't been on a plane for a couple of years now, and I don't miss it. And
Yeah.
So
It has to spark joy, as Marie Kondo says, right?
that's right. We were talking about that, the importance of joy, and that's an interesting word. Some people use it a lot, some people don't. But when we talk about going from I have to I want to, one of the emotions that does come up, in the morning, is that there is this idea of joy. There is this idea of youthful eagerness and hope that I get up. I've got something fun to do. I got some things that I choose to do, and it's a lot easier to get up. It's a lot easier to get moving. It's a lot easier to smile, that type of stuff. And so that's when we talked about what happens 6 months after you're working with me, what's going on. Well, that's your morning. You're getting up and you're saying, I feel like I want to get up. I have some things I want to do that I get to do, and I know what I need to do, and I have some people to help. I have some things to do, and whether you're still on the job or you're doing something different, that's a totally different start to the day than what a lot of us end up with towards the end of our careers.
Yeah. So we're in that great resignation period now. I think see stats like 93% of people hate their jobs. They don't want to go back to them.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for people that are at that stage? Like they're ready to stop their career in one place and start a new one, or leave their job?
Well, I think the first thing they have to do is they have to figure out their why. They have to really figure out what it is they want to do, because the danger of just saying, I don't like this job, that job looks better, or it pays a little bit more, it's a little bit more convenient, there is just going to become another here. And the cycle continues. And so if you don't stop and be a little bit more self-aware about what are the things that you value, what are the things that you want to be able to contribute, and what goals and growth do you need? And then you look at that environment, that job, that corporation, say, are they going to line up with what you want to do? Are they going to appreciate your contribution? Are they going to give you an opportunity to reach your goals and grow? And that's the key, is to understanding that, and then going in there, and then obviously the things that I can help with is as you work through that, to start helping you make those choices to become that person, and realize that it's a step-by-step, it's a daily process.
So do you work with people one-on-one or group coaching or both?
I primarily do one-on-one coaching. I do I do have the capability to do groups, but I've not started on that part yet. But it's primarily a one-on-one, and we spend an hour, hour and a quarter a week, and go through. We have a kind of a program, an organized program that helps us. And it's not curriculum, so answer number one, answer number two, but it's 12 organized topics that helps us walk through balanced success and understanding how to build goals, how to achieve goals. You really understand your why, and so from that perspective, it's very valuable for people to start your eyes start opening up, and it's, oh, okay, I'm getting it. This is good. Okay. And that's I think that's the magic moment when light bulbs go off and you say, okay, this is starting to help. And so
if somebody's thinking about retiring in 6 months, do you start working with them before they're actually done with their career? Or
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, the original My Retirement Mission would have said, no, let's talk retirement. But Retirement 2.0 again is retiring from I have to I want to. So if you're 45, 50 and you're sitting in the middle of a career and you're saying, holy cow, I've got another 10, 15, 20 years of this bleep. I have to do this. I have to do that. That's the perfect time to start changing from I have to I want to. So if you're in an I have to scenario and you feel weighted down, let's talk. That's simply the best way to say it.
Yeah. Well, great, Gary. This has been very entertaining. I always love talking to you because you have some really good, grounded advice for people.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
It's myretirementmission.com.
Yep. And so go up there and look for a big red button, chat with Gary, whatever. And the process is that we start with a little 20-minute conversation, just kind of getting a feel for what he's struggling with, what's going on, and just kind of, getting a feel for, do you like me? Do I like you? Is this relationship? Because again, this is all about relationships. That's what LinkedIn is, right? And so we have a short visit, and then if we both feel that it's worth investigating, then I'll invite them to a 1-hour conversation where we really get deep and understanding what's going on and developing some action steps that they can take forward. So
great. Thanks, Gary. We'll see you around.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much for having me, Ted. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.